Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Blank Space. You're listening to Not Very Interesting People.
I
Where we, d-
I never claimed to be.
hey, we know what we are, we know what we do, and I mean, this is just where we're at.
What what do we do?
I mean, I'm not sure really. I think there's just like this nothingness that we just fill in with our voices.
That was really dark. I was just gonna go with like we exist. We populate the planet. We have jobs. We have loved ones. It's great. But no,
Oh,
apparently you were like, no, infinite void.
no.
Infinite void except for the podcast.
I mean, I guess that's one way to look at it. I just meant like nobody was talking, and we're just kind of that loud guy in the room.
So, welcome to Philosophy Cast. We're going to talk today about existentialism and how we fit into the universe.
Dear God, I'm nothing amongst the void of the stars.
Ooh, nothingness. I actually just kind of
Hey,
looked at my window next to my computer. It was just pure black. I'm like, oh, that's perfect.
I mean, it is night.
Mm.
No, night is dark. These are facts.
I mean, it doesn't have to be. It could be a nice full moon out.
I mean, it's still dark, though. I mean, comparatively to daytime, you know?
One time I'm going to get a counter going for all the times we say you know and you mean.
That's probably something we should work on, you know?
I'm gonna get a counter going. I'm gonna get like an actual notepad up and be like, okay, one, two. It won't be separate between us. It'll be just collective.
Oh, okay. All right. That makes me feel a little bit better. Because I know we're sort of bad on that.
Ooh. Anyway,
Yeah,
I
right. We had topics to
we
talk about,
have
right?
we have things to talk about. Specifically, you have something you did this week.
That is true. Hey, Drew, have you ever been to a seminar?
Yes, once or twice for different things. What's up?
Okay, so over the weekend, I went to a retail seminar, and it was definitely a choice seminar.
Hmm. Now, when you say that, do you mean a good one?
I mean, he didn't lie to us, so that was good.
Hmm.
So that's always good when you go to a seminar and like they're just not like outright lying to you. So that's cool.
That's
But it
that's
was like
pretty positive.
yeah, but it was like one of those retail seminars that tries to get you to basically work on houses and stuff like that, flip houses, do that kind of stuff. Take get loans off of their company. Do $1,000 entry fee. But oh, sorry, $1,000 entry fee. Make sure you pay that.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing it was. Have you ever been to anything like that?
I haven't been anything like that. So,
Okay.
so yeah, just the seminar in general is kind of vague, but for like a for like a seminar where they're trying to sell you on something, it's like, not really. Most of the time, I try and avoid them because I know the feeling in there already. And I mean, here's the thing: they could be really interesting. It sounds like this one was actually kind of decent, but most of the time when I hear, "Hey, do you want to come to this seminar?" I get a, "Do you want to sell Cutco knives or do you want to sell things door to door?" kind of deal. It's like, oh, all right, I'm
Yeah,
good.
that's been my experience for the most part. This
Mm,
one actually was just about, so it was like they had like a program which you can sign up for, which that's what cost $1,000, right? Get access to their credit lines and stuff like that. And basically, it was to get some people on their loan programs to buy houses and such.
hmm.
It seems like something that would be good for somebody that literally had nothing to lose, right?
Yeah.
And all the time in the world. But that's not me.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, like, so they were selling you basically on the idea of like, okay, you give us $1,000 and we will give you the program that you can do to work on houses.
Yeah, actually, it seemed like a pretty decent thing, right? Like where they would do like to show you how to buy and sell houses and all that kind of stuff. Like it seemed like they would do something decent for you,
Hmm.
right? So this actually just wasn't like a full on scam thing, but it is also something that you can could do completely on your own without their help, as long as you have the time and effort.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the information would just be online, like for free,
Hmm.
or at least for cheaper than $1,000.
That's for sure. But I guess that's the fee of somebody doing things, actually showing you by the hand, kind of deal.
Yeah, there's no way a guy's gonna go around town to have a seminar for free to just
Yeah.
have a bunch of people be like, "Oh yeah,
Hmm.
just here you go. Here's all the steps you need." That
Yeah,
makes sense.
It was kind of funny though, because me and a friend actually went out with this together, and we were kind of laughing at a few of the sales tactics they were using, right? And a few of the things that were kind of basic, because he's done housing basically for a while, and he's like, I know all this stuff already.
So, like, what kind of instigated you guys to go? What made you guys want to be there?
Honestly, it was just for the experience of going to one of these things, right? Just because, well, what do they have to say? Like, what do these people are going to say? Is it going to be interesting? Is it just going to be hogwash that I already know? Just going to so what are these people actually going to talk about?
Hmm.
You know, and at bare minimum, I got a sandwich out of it that's still in my car.
That's You might want to toss that. I don't know how long it's been in your car, but you might want to toss that.
Yeah, it's about time to toss that. I mean, it was a cold weekend though, so it should be okay.
I mean, it has, but
I mean, I'm not eating it, that's for sure.
Oh, okay, good. But wait, what was your intention then otherwise?
Throwing it out, actually. It's more like they handed out like the lunches, and I was like, well, I don't really want to turn it down in front of people. That
Hmm.
seems rude.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Hmm.
So, do you feel like you got anything out of it?
More of just like, hey, you know what? I probably should look into this housing stuff more for the future. But other than that, nothing too much. It's more interesting just to see people talk about it because I don't usually get to talk about that with people. So that was kind of nice. It's more of just like a laugh fest for me and my friend, actually, because the first speech they had, it seemed like well put together, right? It was actually really funny because the second presenter they had was completely trash talked by the first presenter.
Like in a playful way, or like he just shut him down before he even stepped out?
Like like they did like, oh, we're not even going to bother. We're not going to even bother in slashing our prices. We're just going to give you what you get because that's just how you do fair business, right? And when the second guy gets up there, right, he does the slash thing for his seminar for his program.
Oh, they got jokes.
Yeah. And it was actually me and my friend felt bad because we were just laughing on our way out of the place, and the presenter comes up behind us. It's like you guys shouldn't have even come. We kind of made him cry. We felt real bad.
Oh, that's that's messed up. I was gonna say though, I mean, you can't expect like everyone to be super on board with your message when you have these kind of seminars,
That's
especially
true.
when you do something as silly as literally slashing a price.
Yeah, I mean, I felt bad because we didn't even realize the guy was right behind us either. So we made a grown man sad.
Hmm. Well, I, I'm interested. I'm interested now. What was the demographic of like this thing?
Okay.
Was it college kids? Was it like
No,
50
no.
somethings? Was it
This was de-
older folk?
this was definitely older folks. Like I can tell, like the people that were in this thing, they're like, all right, I really gotta find something to get me extra cash kind of deal. Like we were the least desperate people there, that's for sure.
Hmm. So are we talking like 50 somethings, or are we talking like 70
Maybe.
somethings?
Oh, no, 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 no. We're talking like 40, 50s,
Okay, so
kind of that
people.
demographic.
Okay, when you said older folk, I was like, what are these like 70, 80 year olds doing it like a house flipping place?
Yeah,
But
but that's the type of guys that were there.
that makes sense. So were you guys like the only ones like kind of poking fun at it? Was everyone else kind of on board?
Oh, I mean, like we respected them while they were talking,
Hmm.
right? Like we weren't just like laughing at them in the seats. That's just being a dick,
Hmm.
right? Um, we definitely weren't sold by it at all, though. Everybody else seemed to be taking it pretty seriously, though. It didn't look like everybody else signed up, though. So,
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean,
yeah,
honestly, with
so
those kind of seminars, that's how it is. You get to the end of it, and like probably two guys get up and they're like, "Yeah, I liked your message. Let me sign up."
mhm,
Hmm.
yeah.
I'm
So, how
trying
about
to.
you? What type of seminars have you been to? Because most of mine have been like either that type of situation or like it's been like for Amway or somebody trying to sell you things.
Hmm. Yeah, I can think of two in particular I've been a part of that
Hmm.
really were just like ones that I sat in And then at the end of it, I realized this wasn't for me. I'm gonna leave out like teaching seminars, like
Hmm.
obviously the ones that are like, oh, well, come here, we'll talk to you for an hour about this or something like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'm thinking
Hmm.
specifically like sales ones or something like that. I'll just kind of go over one, I guess. So it was basically a sales one where
Hmm.
the guy gets up there, he says, not up on stage. It was like person to person. Like it was pretty much me, him, and one other person. And he basically did a 45-minute spiel about all of the great products I could buy and work to sell back to my own consumers and build my brand. And God, I felt so bad because the person I was with was eating it up. Like he was really on
Oh.
board, and he was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, definitely. Like this sounds great. Like I'm only as good as like my sales are only as good as I am. That makes sense." And I'm sitting there like, "Oh no, should I say something? Should I don't want to say something. This seems really rude to just be in front of him. Like this is all a sham. You're not gonna get your money back." But I felt so bad because at the end of it, the other person was like, "Yeah, definitely sign up," and I'm sitting there like, I'm good," and they're like, "Oh, but you can quit your current job. Like, you can tell them like, you know, f you. Like, you don't have to go back to them. You could be your own man." And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. You don't understand. I'm good." And I think he got the message at that point. He was like, "Oh, okay,
I got you.
yeah,"
Yeah.
but uh, I'm always interested in those things because honestly, it seems to me like they're trying too hard. And I find it weird that some people find that genuine and find that like as a good way to accept this kind of message. Not like the
Hmm.
people being the message sold to, but the people who made the place. Like the people who made the seminar are like, yeah, if we do this, this will come off really well to people, and it always just seems so fake to me.
See, the thing is, right, Drew. You're not the demographic.
I'm not. I freely admit that I'm really not.
You were college educated, okay? Okay, hold up. Let me take that back. You had a path set down for yourself, right? Okay,
Hmm.
and you know where you at least had a vague idea where you were going, right?
I mean, that's
This
generous, but
stuff,
okay.
you have a full time job. You're good.
I mean, that's generous, but okay. I'm kidding. Keep going.
Uh, but these are things that really appeal to people that don't know where they're going and hate their job. Okay, now would you say you fulfill both those things?
What that I
That you really hate your job, right? It's not taking you anywhere, and you don't feel like you're going anywhere.
no, I don't feel like I do. I
Yeah,
I, I,
that
fe- I,
that
fe- I feel like generally I'm not fulfilled, but like I'm going.
yeah. It's for it really appeals to people that don't really see anywhere else to go. So this is kind of like a chance for them to escape. That's kind of what these type of things usually do. Usually do. Sometimes these are legitimate businesses. Like the one I went to over the weekend, that actually was a legitimate business.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They're not all scams and con artists.
Yeah, but like a few of the ones I've went to in the past, most definitely are pyramid schemes and like sell to your family, sell to your friends, Cutco knives, that kind of thing. Not
Yeah,
naming any brands or anything.
I mean you just did, but okay. Um,
That
I
was the joke.
that's the joke. It well, the thing is, I mean, and honestly, like you said, I'm coming from a different perspective entirely from someone who just
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't want to say can't understand it because honestly I'm not like I'm not well off. I'm not someone sitting here in like a gold plated chair like yeah I'm doing really well. It's like no I get it. I do. But if you sit down and think about it, it
You
really
should be able to clear away the bullshit.
you should be able to say okay I need to buy this. Let's take like those knife things. I need to buy these knives out of my own money and pocket and then I
Mm-hmm.
sell them for what is usually no, like almost no profit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I buy it for 5 and sell it for 6. Like I would need to sell an immense amount of these things. I don't know a person alive who needs that many knives. And it's to me where it's like, ah, God, like it feels like one of those things that like only work in such a short time span. Like you get somebody
well,
in there and then that's it.
well, actually,
And
that's kind of how like a lot of these places go.
mhm,
Actually, is that you just sell to the immediate friends and family kind of deal, right? Um, and they can end up like making a ton of money that way. The only people that actually stay in it though are the people that are like the natural salesmen that can sell beyond their friends and family. And for those people, it works, right? These things usually actually can work, right?
sometimes,
But
not
well,
often, but
yeah, well,
sometimes.
yeah, but like there definitely are people that can make it work.
Hmm.
That's not the majority of people at all, right? It's definitely a system. They're usually systems that are meant to take people in quick and spit them out, take them for what they can get out of them, kind of deal.
Right, right, right. I guess I'm also thinking that in the way that this, like the people who thrive in this system, don't aren't attracted to these systems. Like the people who are very good at selling know they're good at selling and go to places where they can earn a lot of money doing that, like
Mm-hmm.
real estate, cars, that kind of thing, like big ticket items.
Mm-hmm.
I I don't see like somebody who's very good at that getting sucked up into one of these kind of deals.
Yeah, that's for sure. Or if they do, they know how to exploit the system, kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly. But well, I mean, we came on a very negative note, but it sounds like at least you enjoyed the seminar, so that was
Oh no, we had a time.
something.
We enjoyed it because it was just kind of nice to be able to get to actually talk about like things on a business level for real estate kind of deal.
Hmm.
Because it's kind of a minor interest of mine. Um, and my friend, his folks have been doing real estate for a real long time, and it was just kind of a nice thing to go out and be like, huh, so this is how these people are. All right.
Yeah, it's interesting because I guess if anything, it's giving you an opportunity to kind of pick the brain of someone who's been doing this, especially if you like you have an interest in this, or at least as like a I want to know more about this. Maybe not go
Mm-hmm.
into it, but at the very least, I want to know more about it.
You get to see what people are saying, that are that actually do this kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
that's really what I was there for.
It actually makes me wonder how they're feeling about like how these kind of companies feel about the housing market right now.
That's a topic that we do not have the knowledge or depth to go into.
But I watched a movie about it one time.
You stand back. This guy here, he's watching movies. Tell you
Oh,
what, using them eyeballs instead of them ears.
I
We are an
and I'm
audio
gonna
format
and I'm gonna
that
break something
endorses
to you.
audio. What?
I'm gonna break something to you. Movies are an audio and visual medium.
We stand back using your fancy termage.
Yep. But in all seriousness, I do have a movie to recommend to you if you are interested in like the housing crash.
Okay, tell me,
Uh,
what is this movie?
it's called The Big Short. It actually came out a little while ago, like a year ago, I think, a year or two, something like that. It's basically
Mm-hmm.
about the housing crisis that happened in 2008, I believe, and
Mm-hmm.
the whole mathematics behind it, and the some of the big people in it who actually benefited from it because they saw it
Mm-hmm.
early. It's actually really interesting. I'd recommend it.
Okay.
Cool.
So I believe you had another topic you wanted to talk about, right?
Yes, and
It dealt with an audio format.
yeah, ooh, okay, all right, okay. We have a transition. Good. All right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Transition. Swiggity swag.
so I I watch this YouTube series that
Okay.
goes over like musicians and kind of more one hit wonders, kind of that
Okay.
basically go over their entire career, like leading up
Mm-hmm.
to the song, and Aftermath. Um, and he went over an artist recently that was not a native English speaker,
Okay.
and he did a couple of songs. His name was Falco. If anyone wants to look him up. Yes, like the Smash character and Star Fox character.
Is
Um,
that's the YouTuber, right?
no, no, no.
Falco.
That's the musician.
Oh, okay.
Um, he so he created kind of techno beats. Um, I think, oh god, I'm not blanking actually where he was from, but he wasn't a native. No, not Falcons. Falco. There we go.
Like France or something like that.
Uh,
Because if they're probably from France, if there's like beats.
Austrian.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember
works
that.
too.
Okay, cool. Anyway, he created music in yeah, outside the U.S. and of course, all of his music is not in English.
Okay.
He takes samples of some and he says some words in English, but he
Mhm.
doesn't primarily do that. Now, I really liked his music. I really got kind of turned on to it,
Okay.
listening to a lot of it.
Kind of like that German angsty guy, right?
German angsty guy.
You know, like Du Hast.
Oh, oh
Or
yes, of
whatever it
course.
was.
Du Hast, the
I don't
guy,
know. I don't know.
that guy.
It's one of the words he says. That's what I remember.
Du Hast. But I but here's the thing I wanted to talk about. Not Falco, because obviously you haven't listened to him.
Okay.
It's more music in another language.
Okay.
How do you feel about that? Because I know my perspective is that for the most part, including Falco, which I liked a lot of his music, but I'm not going to put it on my phone because I just have a weird feeling about music in other languages. Like it's not the fact I can't sing along with it or anything like that. It just doesn't. It sounds different to me. It doesn't click with my brain for some reason. How
Mhm.
do you feel?
Actually, I enjoy some music in other languages just because I enjoy things that sound good, just straight up,
Hmm.
right? It doesn't matter if I can actually understand the words or not to them. Of course, I will look up the words to them because I like to do that, and I don't want to just like have something that's actually horrible in English, and that kind of deal. Anyway, point is, I actually do enjoy some foreign music. I mean, Baba Yetu, Civilization, whew, that song.
That's a good song. That's a good song. And
That's,
that's the thing. I'm coming down on like I do like it because I definitely listen to a fair bit of music that is outside of the US,
mhm.
not natively English speaking, but at the same time like it's hard for me to get into some of that music because I don't know, it usually throws me off.
Mhm.
For example, like I know you watch a lot of anime. How do you
This is
feel
true.
about like Japanese music or K-pop or a lot of music that shows up in anime?
For me, it's I usually don't seek it out. It's usually has to be attached to an anime that I thought was like really really good, right? And the music also happens to be really really good because it kind of like for instance, right? Like there's just one show, what is it, Your Lie in April or something like that, right? And just like hearing the opening to it always reminds me of like how great that show is, and I kind of get like a little nostalgia trip every time I hear it. So it's not necessarily like how good the music is, though it does at least have to be decent. But if the show's good enough, I usually like to throw it in like my playlist somewhere. So it's like, oh, I remember this great show, kind of deal.
Yeah, I get that feeling from music too sometimes. Obviously not the same songs, but I keep like Cowboy Bebop's theme song in there. I mean, Cowboy Bebop's music in general is just good, but I mean at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
it brings back good memories of it.
Mm-hmm.
So has there really been an anime or anything like that that has had like exceptional music to you that you wanted the soundtrack for?
Not really.
Really?
Like at least like to get the entire soundtrack for. I mean, like they've been animes where like there's a few good songs within them that I like to keep around, right? But not like I'm like, damn, I want that entire track. I rarely find any artists that are like that too, though.
Hmm.
I'm usually very picky choosy when it comes to like my song selection.
That's surprising. I was gonna say, like, I know not all anime fans are the same, but I know
Hmm.
generally some people latch on to like a soundtrack or like, oh, there's this anime that has this K-pop group in it that I really like, or something like that.
Mm, no, I'm very per song kind of guy,
Hmm.
right? I usually don't latch on to bands too hard. I mean, like there definitely are bands that have a lot of songs I enjoy, but just because it's the band does not mean I'm going to enjoy that song.
Okay. Okay. Has
Like I love Billy Joel, but I do not like all his songs.
if Billy Joel if all of Billy Joel showed up in an anime, you wouldn't really particularly want all that.
Yeah, yeah, that'd also be very weird, and I'd just be intrigued to know what's going on.
I
Like,
actually
what
would
is this
too.
show,
I would too. Like if like Bruce Springsteen just showed up in an anime, it's like how did you
right?
get here?
Is this like another like Marvel kind of like crossover kind of deal
Hmm.
with anime? That was a
What
thing that happened one
what
time.
what do you
It's
mean?
not interesting.
Like
Oh no, there's basically like this like Marvel teamed up with an anime studio and like they made like an anime kind of thing, right? And they set it in the U.S. and like they had like a bunch of like English music to it that came to a bit with a bit of it. It was sort of good, but it was kind of trash. I
my
mean,
best description of a show,
Stanley.
it was kind of good, but also kind of trash.
I mean, it wasn't amazing. Like I wouldn't be like, "Yo, watch this. This is real good." It's more like, "I'm not doing anything right now. I'll put it on."
Hmm.
I mean, Stanley made his appearance in it, so you know it's official. So,
Okay, okay, he has to be in it, so that's
hmm
positive.
yeah, I think it
Um,
was Hero Man or something like that.
hmm. I'll be interested to actually look up like how that happened, like how Marvel and whatever animation studio kind of paired up to do this.
Hmm
Because I mean, obviously, like superhero animated movies are not new, but
hmm
to make a strictly anime one seems
Yeah, I think it
seems a
was
little
made
outside of it.
back in 2001 or something like that. It's a
Hmm.
little bit old.
Oh, so before like the current Marvel resurgence kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
happened.
This is definitely before. What was it?
Hmm.
Oh, I'm wrong. I thought this was a lot earlier. It was 2010. Oh, that's
Oh,
wrong.
never mind. Okay, yeah, Marvel was in
there's a zero in front of that.
Marvel
All right.
was starting its full swing, more or
Okay.
less. So,
Okay. I was wrong. That happens.
so I do have a follow up question to the whole music thing. Then, have you ever?
Okay.
I guess I asked the too specific a question, like about anime soundtracks. Have you ever listened
Mhm.
to a movie or TV show soundtrack that you've kind of latched onto?
I mean, I got a feeling it's still stuck in my head. So, I mean, speaking of Marvel movies, like that refuses to leave. But other than that, like I don't really latch on to stuff.
Hmm.
Like in general, like it's very rare for me to even like look up music for like a movie or a show or really anything like that. Like it has to be pretty exceptional for me to do that.
I don't know why that's surprising to me, honestly. Like I guess I've always done not like for every movie I've seen, but like there's some
Hmm
movies that I've watched that have had really good soundtracks that
hmm
I've like sought out by itself to like listen to. Like I mean, you said the one from the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack. I just straight up got the entire soundtrack to the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack. I'm like, oh, this is so good. Oh,
hmm
this all of it. And I'm actually really excited about the second one because that means I'll get more music out of it.
But the only thing that's really gotten me right was like I can think of like two games off the top of my head that their soundtracks actually kind of pulled me in. One of them was Hotline Miami.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just like the whole entire game is just coated with music that just fits every scene. And I don't know, it's something that's so integral with the game that you can easily put it on. You can just feel epic just listening to it. You know?
Mm, absolutely, yeah. It's one of those things that like the game design, the game aesthetic, and the game music all synced up perfectly with each other to
Mm-hmm.
make this like trance feel for everything you did.
Mm-hmm. And like the only other game besides that is probably To the Moon,
Yeah, that's one I've been meaning to go back to forever at this
hmm
point. Like,
which
what's
is
it
just
called?
such a nice little complete storyline, and the music for it just complements everything so nicely. And it's good music too, so that makes it kind of nice.
Hmm.
hmm
Yeah, it's a nice little thing, and that's the thing I'm trying to get at is like what soundtracks for things that really kind of got you interested or excited about it. I mean, I've fallen far away from the topic at this point, but I'm
Well,
trying to think of
this is still
specifics.
technically the topic.
Technically, I've actually spent the last couple of minutes trying to look up this. So I've had this soundtrack for a very long time at this point, and
Okay,
I have no idea what game it is a soundtrack to. This was in the
okay.
early days of Humble Bundle. They sold a bundle with some game in it. I have no idea
hmm
what game it was. I've been trying to find it for a bit now, but it had this soundtrack to the game, and it was done by a band called Acrobatics.
Okay,
And I've been trying to find this for I've been trying to find it for quite a while now. It's like a trance kind of like soundtrack kind of
okay.
thing. I don't know. I'm still looking it up myself, but it's one of those times where like I remember listening to the music of a game and being like, oh, this just kind of worked out really nicely.
Okay.
I've had that for movies. I've had that. I can't honestly think of a TV show that has had that specifically, but definitely movies, games, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, it's just kind of rare for me to really pick up to actually seek out music from a game or a movie or a show or anything like that. Like it's very specific scenarios that it happens for. Like those two games are pretty much it. Like couldn't even think of like one song from any other game that I've even tried to get, kind of deal.
Hmm.
I mean, like when I go in though, it's usually all in.
Yeah, like it's either I don't want any of it or I want all of it.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? That's not necessarily true. Like in truth, like there's only like a few tracks you can really put on a playlist for Hotline Miami. Because like other ones are just like you really need to be fighting something for it to be actually good, or at
Hmm.
least punching a wall or exercising.
I don't know. I like to listen to that while driving.
That's dangerous.
Okay, okay, not driving quickly, just driving.
Okay, it's still dangerous.
I mean, driving is a dangerous thing in general.
It is a giant piece of metal going down the road, asphalt road
Yes, I've been.
that can easily crush a human being.
I, yes. Point. So, I was trying to think. I knew there was a specific example I wanted to bring up for this. So, have you ever seen the movie Tron Legacy? It was a sequel to Tron.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that.
That movie is one I'll point to of like I watched that movie and I do like that movie, but I love the soundtrack. That soundtrack is all done by Daft Punk, and I am just so on board with everything they do.
Yeah, I am too, but like, I don't know. Like they had one good track in there.
I strongly disagree.
Well,
I'll tell
I
you what I
mean,
did. I'll tell you how strongly I disagree. I own the
okay.
soundtrack to it, the remix of the soundtrack,
Oh,
and the Volume 2 remix of the soundtrack.
oh,
I
okay.
I really like that soundtrack.
You're on another level than me. Okay, all right, that's fine. It's okay.
Well,
Damn.
it just was one of those soundtracks that like just ended up. I mean, here's the thing: it essentially was just a new Daft Punk album.
hmm
That's what it ended up being. Was
I mean,
just.
like the soundtrack for that was great, right? But
Mhm.
like, there's really only like one theme from there that I would definitely listen to, like outside of just watching the movie, though.
Hmm. Well, which one is that? Do you remember off the top of your head?
I think it was Derezzed. I think
Yeah,
that's it.
probably D-Res. That's like the one of the bigger title tracks.
hmm
Hmm. Okay. Well, It's okay. We'll just have to disagree about your taste in music.
I mean, That's not how taste in music work.
We'll just
But
have to agree to disagree. That's all.
I mean, that's not how that works, Drew. You're just wrong. Again, that's not how it works either. I did
I was
have
just sitting here like, I got nothing. I got nothing.
to.
But
Hey, if you got nothing, that means I did my job.
I don't feel like that's how a podcast works.
I think that's how the end of podcasts work. By the way, this isn't the end. We're still going.
No, we actually just ended right there. Cut. Just cut it. Just cut it right there.
No, no, this is only like 30 minutes in.
Well,
Can't
fuck.
do that.
Well,
We'll make people happy or sad.
probably sad.
Emotions will happen.
Probably sad. But I guess if we're gonna keep going, if you insist,
Yes, I do.
you had a topic, another one.
Yeah, actually. So, as you know, like I'm a bit of a history guy, right?
Hmm.
And I definitely do enjoy history, and history is kind of like my thing, right? But is there a point in history that you specifically enjoy? Like you just like hearing about, or like you love learning about, or I feel like everybody has their own period that they really just find interesting, or at least they can find a period they really find interesting.
Um, so probably the future. I love learning about the future, reading all about it, watching documentaries about the future. It's great. Back to the Future, fantastic documentary. Oh God, can't wait till we're in the future. It's gonna be
I
great.
I can't tell if you're serious or not.
Actually, well, I've always said this, but I'm always more of a futurist. Like I like to look towards the future of things, but
Okay.
that doesn't mean I can't appreciate like eras in the past. So things I like to learn about probably around the time of immigration to the U.S. What is
Okay.
that, like the 20s, 30s?
Yeah, yeah.
Somewhere around there. I love to hear about that. I mean, I think I mentioned this on the podcast previously, but one of my favorite musicals is Ragtime, which is set entirely around that era of like immigration to the U.S.
Okay, so like the whole interwar period, all that kind of stuff.
Not specifically like. Do you mean like World War One refugee situation, or do you just mean like?
I mean, between World War One and World War Two.
Yeah, yeah. People were like idolizing
Yeah.
America. People were moving here and all that.
Mhm.
Another one is the 50s.
Okay.
I feel like that's just an interesting era to read about because of this whole American dream and how it kind of shaped everything.
Mhm.
I believe it was the 50s, I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's also when my favorite game, Fallout, is, I mean, somewhat set. Somewhat, if you can imagine an era frozen in time for thousands of years, that's basically what it is.
That's fair. That's fair. I
um,
think.
Also, another of my favorite games, Mafia 2, is set around the 50s, I think. Somewhere
Mhm.
around there.
Okay. So you kind of like learning about like how America was in the past and like all that kind of stuff, how people got to here and all that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and I do enjoy other histories, but I can't narrow it down as much as American history.
Hmm. Okay. All right.
How about you?
I think my most interesting period that I like learning about is like when the nation states were forming, kind of deal. Like when Germany was becoming a nation, when Italy was becoming a nation, you know, when like the whole idea of like we're a big nation state instead of we're just kind of ruled by a king only, kind of
Mm.
thing, right? Like how actual nation states formed in Europe and how like the U.S. was building along in that time period, right? I find that whole thing interesting because it's kind of like how did the world get set up to how it is today? Why were these giant empires that sprawled the entire world kind of deal, right? Like how did Africa end up how it was because of the scramble for Africa and all that kind of stuff. I'm very interested in like how nation states, how empires, and all that kind of thing formed.
Hmm. I can get on board with that too. I remember when I was in college, I took a like what was it, World History course,
Hmm.
and World History um, 2, I think it was, went over a lot of that, where it was like how the big empires kind of set themselves up, who
Hmm.
was what, where was who, that kind of thing. It's
Hmm.
really interesting to learn about because you kind of learned about how countries formed, how some cultural ideas formed around them, and that kind of thing. It was really
Hmm.
interesting.
How you can see like just like looking at the differences between like how Germany formed or and how Italy formed, just how like they were two different, entirely different ways of forming a bunch of nations putting together. It's just kind of funny
Mm.
and interesting, just how it all got put together. Or like how France fell out of being like a pure monarchy and how it went to a republic and how it went back to monarchy and you know just how
Yeah,
like the French Revolution ended out. I
yeah,
don't know.
absolutely.
I just like seeing like how the map got put where it is today, kind of deal. You know, and a lot of that comes from that period.
Hmm. Yeah, right around when Europe Asia's kind of figuring itself out, more or
Hmm.
less. Do you have any interest in what's it called? Kind of what's it called? It's like pre not pre civilization, but like pre what we think of as modern civilization.
Oh yeah, yeah. I actually have an interest in like most points because I think like any point in history can teach you something about people, right? So I have interest in like pretty much all of it because I'm a nerd like that. But it's just that like my favorite period though just happens to be the nation states like period. You know, like between like the 1830s to World War One, basically, right?
Hmm.
And but like no, I definitely find the pre-modernization era is pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, when I was learning about it in that class, specifically the big interest I took was the logistics of everything, how they got
Hmm.
stuff running, how they survived, and
Hmm.
all that. I'm not talking about like hunter gatherers. I'm talking about well past that, but like how societies set themselves up in a
Like
way
how
that
to, yeah.
wasn't like, oh, we have bureaucracy and government,
Hmm.
but we have law. We have like basic rule over this kind of
Hmm.
thing.
Or like something like how the heck does the feudal system actually work, right? Like how did the Roman Empire actually function before electronics? How did somebody get a message from Britain to Anatolia or something like that?
Didn't didn't Rome just kind of work on the gladiatorial system? Like you got a problem, you just go in and fight a lion or something.
Hey Drew,
Hmm.
that's wrong.
Oh, okay.
I thought I'd let you
Just wanted to throw that out there. You're
know.
wrong.
Yeah, I mean, how they actually worked it, right, is it was actually a series of Rochambeau challenges. Uh,
Ah.
and
I'm glad I live in a modern society.
darn straight.
I'm good without that in my life.
Yeah.
You're
And the
telling me
thing is, right,
you're telling me it wasn't like
if
Road
both
Del Dorado? They played like a ball game to win to not die.
no, how they worked it, right, was is they you had two people go up against each other. They did best of three, right? And if they both got rocks, right? If they both picked rock, right?
Hmm.
The crowd would just throw rocks at them, and they'd be
Oh
stoned.
God.
That's how it worked. That was law.
I mean, we haven't gotten far from that, honestly. Have you seen that GIF of
Dear
the
God, Drew,
wrestlers
I will
getting?
slap
Hmm?
you.
Okay, I'll end that thought. Don't worry.
Wait, are you gonna tell about the guy that got body slammed on Legos?
No. There's a great GIF. Hold on, I'll find it. I'll find it real quick. It's of a wrestling match that happened where one of the wrestlers asked for a chair to hit the other guy
Okay.
with, and
Uh-huh.
he got a little bit more than he asked for.
Where do you get a rock?
Well, I'll tell you
There's
what.
not much of a guess here.
I'll find it. But long and short of it is, I do find history super interesting to learn about. But how do you usually like read up about this kind of stuff?
So,
Not specifically read, but like
I
do
do
all
a
kinds of
mix of
stuff.
things, right? Like I don't really follow any journals or anything like that. Mostly because I don't really know any of the good ones. I don't know many people besides myself that are into history. I mean, I know I could find people, but just nobody that I personally know, right?
Hmm.
But a lot of the ways I find it is through actually YouTube channels. Like there's this one at the moment, right? It's called The Great War,
Mm,
where it's basically doing a week by week presentation of what happened during World War One 100 years ago, right? Like there's just stuff like that is just super neat.
yeah, I, I feel bad because like I certainly. By the way, I posted that thing in the chat.
Okay.
You can put it in the show notes if you want. But the long and short of it is that like I would love to watch the Great War. I feel like that'd be really interesting.
Hmm.
But I'm one of those people that had to be there when it started. Because I'm one of those people that have to watch from the beginning with a series like that. Because if there's
Yeah,
ever like a callback to something, oh god, it'll just bother me. It'll just bother me to no end.
I got you. I
Like if
got you.
he's like, "Oh, last week we talked about this, and now we're going to talk extensively about the repercussions." I'm like, "Well, I need to go back a week." Then
I.
he'll be like, "Well, this happened because this happened last week." I'll be like,
Mhm.
"Oh god, all right, here we go."
The good thing is they do summary episodes, so that you're not going to be missing out on anything. So they try not pull from information that's not like it's been immediately talked about, right?
Right.
But I definitely have that issue at the moment because I actually forget where I left off in the series, right? I got to go back and find out. Wait, where did I leave off? Because I ended up not doing it for not watching it for a few months, right? Just because I was doing other things,
Yeah,
and now
of
I got to
course.
figure out where am I in this series. Like I got to go back. Which week was I on again? Kind of deal.
Oh, I develop a system to remember where things are. Thankfully, YouTube also tells me which ones I've watched, but that's not always entirely reliable.
It's not. Mine
It's
isn't,
it certainly is not. But
especially
yeah,
when you turn off your history.
definitely. But it's I don't know. I definitely am on board with you where like I don't it's probably YouTube channels that I get most of my history stuff from. Obviously, I've had classes and I actually still have some books somewhere around here that are like
Mm-hmm.
here are world history and world myths for like the first like 1,000 years of human civilization. It's like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. This is cool." But yeah, like I just kind of get it from a smattering of places.
Yeah, I mean, like I get mine from YouTube. I actually do a little bit of it from Reddit on just like the history questions that get posed there sometimes. I mean, they have a great subreddit called Ask Historians, which can or cannot get answered, asked good questions. But
Yeah.
usually, like little smatterings that way, or there's a few podcasts that are pretty good about teaching history too, as well.
Hmm.
Like I know one's the Dan Carlin's Hardcore History is one. That's a pretty good one. He like goes in depth over a topic, and it's decent to source too, so that's kind of nice.
See, I just watch drug history, and that usually covers all the history I need to know.
I
Uh,
got you.
have you ever watched that a decent amount?
Which one?
Drunk history.
I, what is that?
Oh, okay. So it's a Comedy Central series where basically the the guy I think he's a historian. I don't remember entirely. Either that or he's just a history nut. The idea was from like a college humor sketch or some sketch online where they got this guy really drunk and they just asked him to explain like interesting points in history. So like
Okay.
he described like the invention of the printing press in the US or something like that. But he's incredibly drunk. So he just kind of paraphrases and like just kind of condenses things.
The
And
the printing press was invented in Germany before
well, I mean
America was a country.
when it was introduced into the U.S.
Oh, okay.
around Benjamin Franklin when he used it for, I think, newspapers and like pamphlets and literature, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense. All right.
Yes, but but the Comedy Central series gets this guy drunk and asks him to explain things about history, and then they take what he says and reenact it with actual famous actors, but get them drunk as well before filming. So everyone involved, except for probably the production team, is drunk making this show,
That
and the
sounds
production
like
team
something
is.
that's a little great.
It is, and I mean, there's a ton of episodes all about different stuff. I'd highly recommend it. They're all really fun.
All right. Okay. I now got something to look up on.
Hmm.
But actually, I know there's something that's probably going to make history.
Hmm.
So there's this budget, right?
Oh lordy.
This is our next topic for those that didn't
I'm not
catch the
ready.
transition.
I'm not ready. I'll never be ready.
I'm not ready already. So
All
yeah,
right.
there is this budget that got proposed.
Hmm.
How do you feel about this?
So, I'm gonna give a little bit of background for people who are not in the know, or people who are listening further down the line who just aren't aware of like what is currently going around.
Do what you do.
I'll do you. But basically, what Ant is mentioning is that the President of the United States and Congress proposed this bill recently to quote unquote correct healthcare within the U.S., like the Affordable Care Act. Basically, it's the Republican or conservative spin on the whole Healthcare Act going around because they were very unhappy with the Democratic end of it. They're generally happy with points in it in general, but I'm condensing points more or less. So recently, there's been a lot of talk from them about like, oh, we're gonna repeal Obamacare
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna replace it with our own. And finally, they released the details about what that plan is. And I think I'm safe to say not a lot of people are happy with it.
That's fair to say.
And I'm not saying like, oh, all these white liberals with their headscarves and like all these crazy people are just like, oh, look at all this, look at all these people who just are so triggered about this. It's like, no, people on all sides are angry right now. People who voted for Trump, people who are against Trump, people who don't lean either way are just all unhappy with it.
I just meant the budget. I wasn't even going to talk about the healthcare thing.
Oh. Well then, please, go on. I honestly
I mean this works too. I mean this is fine.
please
I mean,
please describe the budget real quick to talk about
okay.
what you were going to talk about.
So that's the one part of things, right? That I didn't know we were going to do, but we are now.
Hmm.
But the one thing I wanted to go over was the budget itself, and just kind of a surprise on how they're trying to go about things. So the main idea behind the budget is that they're increasing military spending and decreasing from a variety of other programs, from education, from like they're going to get rid of PBS funding. They're going to be getting rid of like a bunch of programs that actually help people to try and give us more military spending.
One of the big points is military spending, but yes,
I mean, that's in my eyes, that's the main point,
yes.
right? Like there's no other discussion here besides
Well,
that.
well, I do want to be somewhat fair. I do want to be somewhat fair. That is not 100% going to the military.
I mean, it's not. A decent percentage of that is going to Veterans Affairs. But, like, the overwhelming increase is the military spending.
Defense and
Wait.
Homeland Security.
Well, yeah, defense and homeland security. But that is So the thing is that we already were spending too much on military, and a lot of military advisors have been saying that we don't need any more spending in the military. So this is literally out of nowhere. This funding for the military seems to be coming from.
Is it? Is it really out of nowhere? Is it?
I mean, sort of. I mean, why would you say it isn't?
I mean, with everything that has been said on the campaign trail, promises Trump has made, is it surprising that he wants to bolster our military?
I mean, it's not that surprising, but we already have an overwhelming we already have an overwhelming military in which it's been recommended by the generals themselves to decrease funding to the military. Like that's the thing, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the actual military officials themselves have been saying we don't need all this money. Cut back our budgets. Like come that's why it's surprising, right?
Yeah,
Because there's literally no reason for all of this spending. I mean, granted, there's at least $3 billion of the budget that's going to build Trump's wall, which I mean, that
that,
says a lot, right?
now is that a million or with an M or a billion with a B?
That was $1 billion.
Yes. So I mean, I'm looking up a short list of numbers here. We more than double the spending of any other country
Mm-hmm.
in the world on defense, on military defense.
Yep.
We are number one. At this is numbers from 2016, mind you. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
no, sorry, these are numbers from 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Numbers from 2015. We spent around 600 billion, and we are number one in the world on military spending. Number
Yep.
two is China with just over 200 billion.
Yep.
So we almost tripled that.
Yep. And that's why it's such a and it'd be one thing if it wasn't being taken from a bunch of programs, right? But it's being taken from programs that literally help Americans.
Yeah, it's
It's being taken from PBS. It's being taken from education. It's being taken from like it's
oh,
taking away funding to feed to make sure kids get fed at lunch. Like the real poor, not well off kids,
from
they're
clean
not going to get.
energy initiatives,
Mm-hmm.
from all kinds of places. It and it's I don't want to come off again like this is not surprising, but we had articles coming out that the Trump administration was cutting funding to a lot of different places and didn't really mention where the money was going to go.
Yeah, and it
For
just seems like every cent of it went to military spending, basically. I mean, like there are a few programs that it did go to otherwise, which is basically what was it? It was Veterans Affairs, and there was a bit of NASA funding that he increased.
Actually, I mean, unless this article I'm reading is wrong, NASA is going down. It's
Uh,
slightly down.
it See, here's the thing, right? I believe they were tearing out all of NASA's uh, environmental research, but replacing it with I think it was space research, like actually going into space budget.
Mhm.
I think that's what they were replacing it with. So I think it was like a give and take for NASA's budget.
Okay, so it was almost even, kinda.
I believe that actually NASA's budget got increased. That's like the only good thing about this budget.
Eh, it's not a giant jump, but it's
Yeah.
it's surprising because well, surprising isn't the right word because it really did seem like this the strategy he wanted was a bigger push to our military and our global power, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
So when we when he said he was cutting funding to programs,
Mm-hmm.
it did kind of make sense that that's where it was going to end up, or that's where it was going to go. He didn't really seem like he was going to be one to push the arts or push, what's it called? Um,
But here's the thing, right? Like, even if it wasn't going to be that, like, he could have made a balanced budget, and he didn't even do that. Like, he could literally just put none of the money into the military spending. At least that would work towards a balanced budget.
hmm
Like, he could have at least done that. Like, he was going to slash things. I could at least get behind him if it wasn't going to all go to the military, pretty much. See, that's my biggest issue. Like, if he slashed things and it went nowhere, and it just went to paying off debts and stuff like that, I could accept it, right?
hmm
Like, my biggest hang-up is the fact that it all pretty much went to military spending, which we absolutely do not need. I mean, it sucks that the fact that all these things are being cut. It's just that where the cut money is going is what makes me sad.
Yeah. Well, let me play devil's advocate then for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that all presidents struggle with is increasing job growth.
Mm-hmm.
Basically making it so more people have jobs and unemployment is down. That's one of the big things he campaigned on was, oh, look at how high unemployment is. It's like 1%, 2%, 15%, 30, 50%. I'm like, that's not how unemployment works. If we are 50% unemployed, that would mean 1 in 2 people are unemployed. That's
Mm-hmm.
not the case. But that's one of the big things he campaigned on. So making such a big push towards military and homeland defense spending does increase job growth there. It'll increase budgets, which mean they can hire more people.
Yeah, but so would putting that towards infrastructure.
Right.
So would literally like a thousand other
Technically,
projects.
technically, he is going towards infrastructure. He is building a wall.
Okay, guy. But
It
like it just it's stuff that's not really it's in, it's increasing things in the wrong areas,
right.
and it's
It
taking away from areas that actually could help.
areas that are already hurting for it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think the Department of Treasury, which deals with the IRS and everything like that. Well, no one's a fan of taxes. We need them,
Mm-hmm.
and the way I understand it, the IRS and all that was already severely underfunded. Like, um, I know every year there's always stories that come out that are like, there. This is how many people are working in the IRS, and this is how many jobs they need. This is how much paperwork they need to deal with on a day-to-day basis. It's like, oh god, okay, this is bad.
Mm-hmm.
And to take even more money from them, which means taking more jobs or taking more resources, it seems like such a bad move. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
And I I wonder how it's going to pan out, let's say, a couple of years from now. Because obviously, increasing spending on defense and military may be a popular move. It might be something that people are like, yeah, support our troops and all that. But 2 years down the line, when we start really feeling the effects of taking the money out of these other departments,
Mm-hmm.
how is that opinion going to be swayed? I feel like it's going to be really bad. It's going to be we didn't realize that we needed the. It's going to be a who was it? Rick Perry, I believe, was one of the people running for president either this election or last, who said like, "Oh, one of the departments I'll eliminate is the Department of Energy." And then he later retracted that statement because he realized exactly what the Department of Energy actually did.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though, right? Like one of the strategies that he could be using is let's take the funding away from this, right? And then that department performs badly, and then people just hear about the department performing badly, and then he comes back and saying, "See, we really don't need this department," after taking away the funding for it.
Mm, I don't think that's how it'll work. Because here's the thing: it's not like he can scapegoat things anymore. It's not like he can say, "Oh, look at how bad they're doing." He is the boss of all of it.
That's
So
that's
whatever
the
happens with them, unless it is on a very small scale, if the whole department starts failing, that looks badly on him.
Hmm. I
Especially with
mean,
how
I'm
much
not saying what
press
he's
the
going. If that's how it goes, it's going to work. I'm just saying that's probably what he's going to try and do. Like for
well,
because he currently wants to get rid of the State Department too. Because that's a smart move, right?
mm,
We're not
I
happy.
I I don't like it. I'm trying to come at it from like a somewhat not objective, but like
I mean,
neutral way where I'm like looking at it like, okay,
I normally can come at things from at least some sort of a neutral standpoint, but I can't on this one. I really can't. Like, there's just no like there's there's no way that this is the right decision in any way you look at it. Like,
it feel
Veterans Affairs is okay. I'm cool with more funding of that, right?
yeah,
The
they were hurting, so obviously they needed it.
Yeah, that's literally the only that's one of the only positive things in this budget. Everything else is taking away from programs that help America and putting it into a program which is already overfunded. Ugh.
Yeah, and considering we are, I mean, are we technically in peacetime? I feel like we are.
Technically, I mean, we're still in Iraq.
We're still technically in other areas defending,
I mean, like, we don't have
but
any technically active wars. I mean, we do have occupations, though.
right, but we don't have any large scale operations to fight places. It's more we're being world police at this point, where we're like, okay, we're here and here and here helping out establish something.
Uh huh.
It's not like we're here fighting.
Yeah, that's true.
And I guess the point I'm trying to think of is
I
all
mean,
this spending. What is it exactly gonna go to or do?
see,
It.
I have a bit of a fear.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if this is a build up for something. And that's a fear that I have right now. Is
I
that
mean,
this budget is going to be a build up for a war, maybe an invasion of Iran, maybe an invasion of like maybe a fight with Russia, maybe the madness of trying to fight the Chinese. Like
that
just
is a
anywhere in East Asia is not going to be good. We know. We've done it before. It's not good there.
see we were talking about the budget, and I was sad. Now we're talking about war with a major nation in the world. It just got sadder.
Yeah. Like
it,
it's the only reason why the budget would increase. It's the only reason I can think of is that they know something that they feel like they need that money to prep a war with somebody. And it's
uh, it's not the only reason. I could think of a few others. Like one of the big things Trump campaigned on was that we're losing to ISIS. Like ISIS is still out there. We need to defeat ISIS. And maybe in his mind and a lot of people within Congress, they're saying we need to defeat ISIS. Obviously, we weren't doing enough military-wise to defeat them. So if we give them a bunch of money,
but
then they can deal with it.
I like the hope. I have a hope, right? That our congressmen and senators and our president has at least more understanding about the world than a 5-year-old, and just throwing money at things makes people happy. I
Well, I
have
mean,
the vague hope.
considering a lot of the things he promised was, I have a plan to defeat ISIS within a month, and now we're, God, what are we, 60, 90 days in?
Yeah,
Not a lot has been done.
yeah.
It it's one of those situations where I think
That there is such little intelligence going into it, or
I I
because
want
if
to
it's
try and
that,
stay.
because if it's that at least, then I'm not worrying about the thing I said earlier.
I want to try and stay optimistic. Because here's the thing: I don't think we would go to war with Russia.
I mean, I don't think so.
Trump is already way too buddy buddy with Putin anyway.
That's
Uh,
for sure.
And I mean, while he doesn't like China, I feel like the man realizes how big the country is and how many
Yeah,
people
but
are in there.
I feel like they have their toddler, we have our toddler, and they may just slap each other. Well, North Korea, I bet.
Yeah, I was gonna say like North Korea is a separate issue. That's actually an issue I would like to talk about on the podcast at some point. Like
Okay,
that I'd
that
love to talk about.
that could be another day though.
But
But
I
I feel
I
like we are gearing up for a war at the moment, and it just I don't like that. That's the only for me. Just putting that much into the budget tells me that we're prepping to go into something that we're not going to be happy to be in, and it's probably Iran.
I don't, because government wise, I can't think of a big enemy we have at the moment.
Iran.
During the Obama administration, yes. During the Trump administration, all I can really think of is North Korea at this point. He has made enemies in other countries, but nothing to the point. Nothing to the what's the word, like rabble rousing that you would see from someone who's gearing up for this.
I mean, honestly, man, I see it mostly. I kind of see it as a gear up, and it kind of worries me. I mean, because remember, the budget's for the year. Not, it could be something they're planning for maybe later on, maybe even next year. That they're planning for it, and they're just putting it in already just to have the build up ready, kind of deal. But I feel like something bad's going to happen with this money, and I'm worried about it.
Maybe I'd try and stay optimistic about it, but it's one of those things I don't have a good answer for. It's not like I'm sitting here like, oh god, Ant, you're being such a dummy. Like, come on, no, can't you see this? It's like, no, it's
Mm-hmm.
one of those things where it's like you're not saying an impossible thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's super likely, but I don't think it's an impossible thing.
I mean, I don't see it as super. I don't see it as like a definite thing happening, right? That's the thing. Like, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm saying this is. I'm doing 2 plus 2, and I'm not liking my outcomes.
I mean, if you're saying it's 2 plus 2, that's pretty likely.
All right, fine. It's 2DA plus 3DA or something. Point is, um, I'm not like what I'm seeing. It's something that shows that either he has a really poor grasp of what is needed, or that there's a prep for something that's going to be really costly for the nation. Those are the only two options I really see. That either he's so inept, or we're prepping to go in somewhere.
It, the one thing I really think stops what you're saying dead in its tracks is that
Mhm.
this isn't just a Trump thing.
You're right.
Obviously, this is an entire Congress, executive branch, legislative branch, judicial branch to a lesser degree, but it feels like this is a lot of people coming together for this.
You're right.
And I feel like in a group as big as what I'm thinking of, there has to be a guy who's just saying not to let that happen.
I would agree with you, but the last time I checked, the Republican Congress was pretty anti-Iran. They were very anti having any talks without having them fully disarmed.
Mm-hmm.
And see, that's the thing, right? Like, if if that wasn't the case, like when Obama was in office, like I would be less concerned, right? But the Republican Congress, when Obama was in office, was very anti-Iran. So it just doesn't look good to me. Right now, things just don't really look good on the budget stance, how things are looking that they're going to be. And Dan, we've made this depressing. I apologize, everyone.
It's a fun episode. It's a fun podcast.
It's a family project.
Wee! Oh my god. It's it's one of those things we'll have to wait and see what happens. I don't have a good feeling about it. I certainly we didn't even get into like the specific programs and like
Heck, we didn't even get into the
oh my
healthcare thing.
god. Oh, it's it feels like a mess. It feels like a lot of very short-sighted
I hope it's short-sighted.
decisions, but
Because if it's just a short-sighted decision, it's something that can be revised and turned back into something better, right? It could be
uh,
overturned at least.
I don't know about that.
Hey, I got hopes and dreams here, guy.
I do too. I guess we'll see what happens.
Yep. Well, that was a show.
Is that our catchphrase? Well, that was a show.
No. It was just a blank space that we filled in with a whole lot of sadness, right? Or, well, it was a discussion at least, Had a good
Yeah.
to and fro.
I mean, I'm eating ice cream, so I'm filling in that sadness with something.
All right, bye, people.
Bye.